What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another video. Right behind me I've got some very large boxes, so let's get to opening these up. This box right here is my PCI seat mount with sliders, and then I've got a Sparco seat in this rather large box here. So I'm gonna try to make it quick. Pop this bad boy open. Oof, love it. Looks like I've got some nice instructions here of the mount itself, the sliders, and the side brackets, how everything's supposed to go. And looks like just another view of it. That's with the sliders. Okay, cool. So in my E46 M3, if you guys remember and if you've been watching the channel for a long time, I had a Sparco Evo 2 seat in that car, and that was so I could get enough clearance for a helmet for being at the track, and overall just getting more headroom. I'm 6'5" and pretty balanced, I guess, torso to legs, but I definitely sit higher up in a lot of cars compared to most people. So for me, having a bucket seat means I get that better headroom. And in the E92 M3 that I have now, I've got, I don't know, maybe like an inch of headroom right now if I'm lucky. And so hopefully having a bucket seat on a lower mount will give me about 2 or 3 more inches of room. That way, if I do a track day, I can wear a helmet comfortably. Also, just driving the car overall. If you've sat in one of those E92s or E90, whatever series, M3, the factory seat sits so high off the ground. It's like you're sitting on top of the car and not in it. So this should hopefully make a huge difference for me. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing kind of roughly assembled. The car is actually at the shop being worked on right now, so hopefully I can get this set up. That way when I get the car back today or tomorrow, I can get this thing bolted in. Here's a look at everything that came in this kit. Supposedly the lowest profile seat mount for the M3. This thing is super thin and super strong. It also has this really nice granular texture on here, and super high quality finish on this. The side mounts actually have a really cool powder coated, almost like sparkle to them, which might be hard to see on camera, but again, super high quality. Pretty excited for this. I actually had to wait a couple weeks for these to ship because the sliders themselves were back ordered through a supplier. And if the sliders make it too tall, I'll just have to hard mount it, but hopefully that's not the case and I can run the sliders. There's also a bunch of different packs of bolts and looks like some plastic spacer thingy majiggers. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this. This is the Sparco Evo L. It actually fits my shoulder height really nice. The holes line up perfectly above my shoulders. I think my old Evo 2 had nicer materials, to be honest. This is more like microfiber, like cloth kind of feeling, and the old seat, just from what I remember, was a little bit different. The Evo series has replaced, or at least these new ones have replaced the Evo 2, so the Evo 2 is discontinued and now you can only get the Evo L, and it was a pain in the butt trying to find a seat that A, was big enough for me, and B, in stock or available. I had ordered some NRG seats. I ordered an NRG Prisma Ultra from about 4 different sites, all of them which said 4-week waiting list, and I have a rally in about 3 days. So waiting that long wasn't possible, and we're going to the tail of the dragon and all these other crazy roads. So I needed a seat. Didn't want to spend this much on a seat, but in the end of the day, like, having a quality seat means it's going to be safer. They're FIA certified for whatever reason I would ever need that. And Sparco seats have always been really great. This one is also super light. Like, bucket seats are just amazingly light, and I can't wait to get the stock weight out because the stock seats are just chunky. If you're doing this on your own seat brackets, I kind of want to show you like how this layout works. Essentially, these slots are facing forward, right? Now the prongs face forward as well, so if this is like you're looking at the steering wheel, this is the orientation of these parts. And to get these guys on here, what you're gonna do is push down on here, and that'll allow you to slide the track out, where you can then install this bottom piece, a couple of washers, and then these lock nuts. And then I've left these loose so that the bracket can still slide side to side until I mount everything up together. But that's kind of the orientation. The instructions are kind of hard to look at. I've quickly bolted up the side brackets onto the bottom of the seat, and then now I'm able to see with the actual floor mount which holes in the slots I'm able to use, which will be these, and I'm able to line up the slider to the base connection. So this looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this all off, because now I have to remove them from the sides of the seats so I can mount the sliders to the actual bracket. I've got the slider mechanism mounted to the seat base, and then I just put this little handle in. This is what allows you to move the seat forward and backwards, essentially just pull up. You get the idea. There's a little prong on this side, then there's a hole in the tube, same on over here. Line it up on both sides, and then I just give it a little whack with a hammer, and it kind of just bounced right onto there and locked in. Lift up, excellent. You're gonna need to pick up some hardware to mount the actual seat into the bracket itself, but this is pretty much done. Seatbelt little mount on the side here, so when I do move the factory seatbelt over, and I believe that's what this included bolt is for. That looks like it'll go right through there. And last thing, I just have some little nameplates I'm gonna throw on the sides of the mount, and there's some spacers in here if you needed those to mount up to the side of your seat. And that is the seat all mounted up to the PCI bracket. I have to just tighten down a few more little bolts, and I ended up picking up some of these for mounting the seat. These are M8 by 1.25 by 20. Basically they're just M8s, and these are 20 mils long. With a washer, they worked out fine, and they threaded perfectly in. I'm still gonna have to play with the angle of the seat and all of that stuff when I get the car back, and obviously mounting it into the floor. Slider works great, nice and smooth. There's actually, I think I just counted like 24 different positions you can actually slide it. So that'll be pretty cool and super nice. And yeah, for now, I just need to wait for my car to be done at the shop, go pick that up, and as soon as I get that back, I will definitely be bolting this seat right in. As you can see, I've got my M3 back now from the shop, and that'll probably be a separate video. All I can say is we've got an exhaust on the car now. It sounds awesome. Time to get this seat all installed. I've also got little Millie out here. This is our new puppy. She's gonna help me out today. She's just hanging out in the garage with me. So that is gonna go in there. The bolts that I was looking at earlier that are supplied with the kit are actually so that the sliders don't run into your factory bolts that you took out from the original seat. I also started playing with the factory seat belt, because I'm going to be using my factory seat belt, but I actually went in, lifted the rear seat bottom out just by tugging up and pulling out, and I ended up using the rear seat belt receptacle, and it mounts right up to the bracket on the other side. And then I'm going to go ahead and use these guys to bolt it all down, because this is like super serious hardware. And yeah, the seat's in the car, as you can see, snug fit, and I'll probably have to play with the angle and all that, but I'm gonna go ahead and get it all bolted in. Bada bing, bada boom, got me a seat. Now, with the sliders and the PCI mount, I didn't gain as much headroom as I thought I would, but this isn't a pure track car, and I can still put my helmet on and not rub really at all. So I think that's a win for sure. I kind of got this at a decent rake angle. I think it's kind of gonna be the best comfortable and good position for me. So it's got a little bit of rake in it. It's kind of as low as I could keep the butt end with still giving my thighs some support. I should also mention my clearance to the door is about 1 finger. 1 finger there. And I routed the seat belt through the side of the seat and back to its original attachment point. I didn't do this on my old seat, but I think it'll be more comfortable in the long run and probably safer. So we're gonna go with that. Okay, initial thought time after just going for a rip with the new Sparco seat installed. I know it's hard to see on the camera, so I'll bump up my ISO. First thing is, my seat isn't fully centered in front of the steering wheel, so it sits a little to the left. I'm letting it idle just to cool down for a little bit because I just ripped. And so it's a little offset, which is a little weird, and it's a little crooked, but I have a rally in literally a day and a half, so this is gonna have to do. The other thing that drives me absolutely nuts so far is all of this, like this airbag light and this thing, all of these lights. You can click the stalk to get rid of that bottom one, but then within like a minute it comes back. It's been a while since I originally filmed this video, so I'd like to give an update at the end here of kind of how this worked out. I was able to adjust the seat to sit farther inboard. I just had to loosen up some of the bolts on one of the brackets and kind of finagle it over towards the middle. So the seat does sit very centered now and is a lot better than my initial setup. After having the seat in the car for a while now, it's actually very comfortable, much more comfortable than my old Sparco setup was in my E46. I think that's because the angle I have the seat at is good and supportive of my thighs, which is great. Also, having the sliders has been super nice. On our last rally, we had some very long days of driving, so I was able to swap out with my co-driver, and since he was shorter, he was able to slide the seat forward, and I didn't have to drive the entire time, which was super nice. Your driving position is definitely improved when you have a bucket seat. Your downside is going to be sometimes your comfort overall, and getting in and out of the car is a little bit more tricky sometimes. But the driving dynamics, your arm alignment to the shifter, your leg alignment to the pedals makes your driving technique a lot better, a lot more consistent. And if you've never had a bucket seat in a car and you're considering it, I would just say go for it. And at the very worst, you can always resell that seat. Especially in today's market where parts are really hard to order and get in a timely manner, reselling something would be super easy. So if it isn't for you, you can always get rid of it. For me, this was a massive upgrade in the M3 from the stock seat because of how tall it was, and me being 6'5", that wasn't really gonna work for me. You can tune out those lights that are on the dash. I know the Alex Alpine Tune has options where you could have that coded out. And I guess if you have like the BMW tablet software, you can also do that. I haven't gotten around to that yet, but it is a thing you can do. You can get rid of those lights, and I'm definitely going to do that in the future because they are pretty annoying to look at, and it just bothers me to see the lights on the dash. Hope you guys consider subscribing after checking out some of the videos on the channel. I'd love to have you join. Hit that like button if this helps you in any way. Drop any comments if you have questions. I'll do my best to answer you. I'll catch you guys next time.